Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to interview this graduate from my Thriving Studio Owner Program, Kelsey, and I'm going to have Kelsey speak in a moment about who she is and who she serves and her awesome studio. And I want to ask all of you guys who are watching to take some time to put yourself down, turn off your alerts on your phone or on your computer so you can give this your focus, because this is going to be such a great interview, I know. And Kelsey is a very inspiring studio owner, and she has an incredible story to share of her transformation in the last several months. And I'm just really looking forward to what comes out of our mouths in these next few minutes together. So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Kiki Lovelace, and I am a studio owner. I own a Pilates and yoga studio here in Berkeley, California. And I'm also the founder and lead mentor of the Thriving Studio Owner Program, which is a program that helps my mentees master the steps that I used to build a $500,000 studio while only working 20 hours per week or less. And Kelsey's been working really hard in these last, definitely not 20 hours a week or less, and that's because she's been in a huge period of expansion, which you guys will all hear about in a few minutes. But she doubled the size of her studio this past summer, and so that's a lot of what we worked on together, is like how to really go big in her business. So we'll be talking about that. So welcome, Kelsey, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them a little bit about who you are and your studio and your people, your community, because you have such a unique community, and where you're located as well.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Kelsey Rardon. I own Breathing Space Yoga and Meditation in Indianapolis, and I opened it just over 4 years ago because I saw a need for accessible yoga. I felt really stuck teaching at studios that were charging a flat $20 per class and expensive memberships. And, you know, everybody's always saying yoga's for everybody, but we're not making it financially accessible. So for me, that was really important. So my studio is pay what you can. And it took several years to figure out how to make that work so that people can pay what they can. But we also have memberships and packages, just like any other yoga studio. And it got to the point about a year ago, I knew that I was going to be having an opportunity to maybe take over, expand into our next door neighbor's space. And I was just beginning to see enough profit that I knew that if I was going to be able to do that, I might still be like eating rice and beans myself, but I could expand. And as that got closer, we got to the point where I knew that I was going to need some advice, because like a lot of yoga studio owners, I opened just from the passion of my heart and without a proper business degree or training or anything like that. So when I found Kiki and chatted with her, I knew it was going to be a good fit.
Yes, I mean, the truth is I don't really know any studio owner, any independent studio owner who has a business degree. I mean, most of us, like you just said, like most of us get into it because we are so passionate about how yoga or Pilates has changed our lives, and we just feel like this deep soul calling to be of service and to bring it to our communities. So yeah, and then we sort of we wake up out of like the insanity of the first few years of running a studio and go, holy crap, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm just totally winging this. So yeah, I think you came to me at just like the perfect time for you and for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love for you to, you told us a little bit about your space and sort of your mission and your vision, but I'd love for you to paint the picture for us of before you started working with me in the Thriving Studio Owner Program. Like, what was your life like? I want to know about your business, and I specifically, if you're willing to share, Kelsey, about your income and what you were paying yourself and where you were living and like what I mean, really, like how much of yourself you were giving, you know, both energetically with your time. I mean, I just know that there's a story here to be told. So tell us about
that. So when I started working with you, it was the start of the summer. It wasn't spring. I guess it was spring. It was a little bit before summertime, but I had gone through a couple of pretty life-altering events about 18 months prior, and still running my studio by myself and going through all of that. I moved home to live with my mom, and 18 months as an adult living with your mother can be taxing. We have a great relationship, but still, we were both, my dad had passed away was one of the things. So we were both going through that, and we helped heal together, but also, I think we both were getting to the point that we needed our own space, but in dealing with my personal life and the studio surviving, I mean, I think that the studio not failing during all of that, was pretty remarkable, but, I could keep going. If the studio could survive through all of that, it was going to flourish when I got back on my own feet. And so one of the reasons that I wanted to work with you, Kiki, was because I knew that I needed to like take big girl steps to get to a point where I was financially stable and living on my own, because for my own mental health, I needed to get my own place and have my own like home working space and just downtime on my own. I was paying myself, you know, whatever was left over, a couple $100 into my account here, a couple more $100 there. Like if I needed to pay a bill, I'd transfer some money. But you helped me understand that I have you help me identify my relationship I have with money, and I don't like debt. And so I really didn't want to take any crazy drastic steps to give myself money when I didn't have to go in the red and could just live simply, and keep it in the studio account. And, through about like 3/4 of the way through your program, I got out of my mom's house and I got my own place. And the same month that the studio was expanding, I was moving personally. I don't know why. I just like to go big when I do things.
That's totally how you roll.
It is. And every time I look back at things, like even as we were going through the program, you'd help me reflect on things in my life. And I'm like, I never just do things simply. But it was really important for me because this is a way that I can work from home and set these goals. Like you had inspired me to work less or have boundaries, which I'm sure we'll get to later, but ways that I can be accessible without giving like 100% always. So I got my own place, which of course requires steady income, and I am paying myself a livable wage on a monthly basis. And I've really most importantly recognized this relationship I have with money. And in the expansion, I realized, you know, I've got to go into the red so that I can expand, so that I can have my firm boundaries and space, and also downtime, not work 7 days a week.
Yeah. And also I want to highlight that, like, it does take, I mean, every business owner in the universe, I mean, I feel like we yoga and Pilates studio owners, like, we're not exactly risk averse, because if you're an entrepreneur, I've seen you're willing to take calculated risks, you know, and oftentimes because we don't have that business background, we get super spooked about making investments or about going into debt, you know, and that's not what I do. You know, that's not what I encourage all of my mentees to do. There's plenty of my mentees that don't need to go into any debt at all. In fact, they're paying off their debt. But for you, you were in this moment of just like so ready for something bigger in your business, and really like this bigger vision of having your own space and having your own, like you said, your own time, your own life. Because yeah, you were in your business, like when we started working together so deeply, you know, like, and I know you still are, but in a very different way. It looks really different, the things that you're doing. So yeah, so I mean, I know for me, I think it's really remarkable that you went from, you know, just paying yourself a couple $100 here or there, maybe maximum, like, what would you say, like $1,000 a month or so, or not even, 750 sometimes?
It was probably between $750 and $1,000 a month.
Yeah. And now you've more than doubled that, you know, on a monthly basis, paying yourself almost triple that, you know, which to me is like, in the space of 6 months, is truly incredible, truly amazing. So, I mean, it's really a testament to you and all the like readiness you were to make some serious changes in your life and in your business, you know. So it's so something to celebrate about you, Kelsey, that you've achieved these incredible financial goals, you know, in the last few months. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you just sort of highlighted and referred to. So when we were working together, can you tell us about some of your biggest challenges or struggles that you were facing at the time?
When we were working together, I think my biggest challenge was not understanding boundaries. Whether it was just connections with students and allowing them to contact me. I don't even give out my personal cell phone number, but just emails of, you know, that require big, long, lengthy responses, and requests for private sessions. And like, private sessions are such a moneymaker. So yes, I'll do it whenever you can do it. And just really kind of going back to like me giving everything and putting it all out there. I was just like, whatever it takes. I was a very like, whatever it takes, I will do it. I will support you. I will help you find your way down this path, because that's what I'm here for. And there was one week that we chatted, and I had a private session that had, I mean, I will always say he was my greatest teacher, because I had allowed him to invade my space in a way that I was just getting lots of emails and just conversation of his growth. And it was beautiful, because watching someone grow in their practice like that is very honoring, but it was emotionally draining. And you helped me see that it's okay to have boundaries, and it's okay to even pass on private sessions to other students. There was a time that I turned down a private session because that week I didn't have any time. And you were like, no, you give that to somebody else, because even though it's, you know, maybe 50% of your income, it's still 50% of income versus 0%. And so all of this like awakening to what I was doing by not having boundaries, which was essentially draining myself. And I've learned to say no, or I've learned to delegate, and that also passes on to like studio management tasks and ways that that I can look at what is bringing in profit, and like where is it going to be, even if it's like giving a private session to somebody else is going to bring in more profit, less profit to the studio, less profit to myself, but profit to the studio. And passing off even, you know, just like retail management things that I love to do and I have a good eye for, but then I met someone who's equally as great, and like just manifesting all of this abundance of success with the studio. Having teachers that I've had to let go because they've crossed my boundaries, or I'm learning to recognize their toxicity. That was another big thing that you helped me see clearly is I had someone on the team that I just knew all along was not great, but great teacher, and we all have this, a great teacher, and oh, the students love her, but she's, you know, got X, Y, and Z issues that we don't see eye to eye. And you taught me, like, you always know, like, trust your gut. Your intuition is telling you something in that very first interview or that first time you meet. If you have a feeling that, like, maybe they'll have some personality challenges, but they're a great teacher, like, no. Hard pass, let them go, cut it loose, whatever it takes. I've purged a few teachers from my team this year after meeting you, and now it's like amazing people have come onto our team that I'm like, where did you come from? Where have you been hiding all this time? And welcome to the family. And it feels like we're really abundant and shining right now, with everyone just being incredible, not just teachers, but personalities, and working together and being happy to be at the studio and being grateful to be part of our family.
You know, I think, like, this whole conversation about boundaries and also about toxic teachers, which we talked a lot about during that time, because it was really a time of transition for you, or like, if you were going to grow your revenues, you needed more teachers that were not only professional and timely, but also could bring the skills, you know, like, you know, as you couldn't serve as many people in the private sessions. It's like, you needed to have a team that was like really, ready for your mentorship, ready for growth, and ready and really wanting to be there, you know? So I just want to take a pause for a moment, because I think most of us studio owners come up against this, where we, you know, we may feel like maybe our codependent stuff starts to come up, you know, in our relationships with our teachers, or our story. Sometimes it's our story that, you know, nobody can do it as well as I can, so I just say no, you know. So we start to say no to revenue, which is really fascinating, you know, and no to growth, you know. So I just want to ask you if you could paint us the picture of, you know, what was the feelings that you had when you were in that place of being the yes person and doing this and doing that, and constantly, you know, I know you told me that it was a challenge for you to even have time to manage the business, you know. So the feeling of that, like, what were the sensations versus, and I know it's in progress, because becoming an expert boundary setter is a lifelong process, but like, now here we are, you know, about 6 months later, and what does it feel like now that things are starting to have their place in your life? Tell us about the emotional qualities of that.
Yeah, so I tried different avenues of ways to organize my things, like productivity planners and journals and calendars, and nothing was really efficient for me, because I hadn't seen the big picture of, look, here's your, you know, like, when we would go through our weeks and like making me break down my financials, and now seeing like, oh, 40% of our students are members, 30% are package holders, you know, and understanding like, where are we focusing things, even into carrying that to responsibilities. And here's my list of tasks, and here's things that need to be done, like time sensitive today. And so I could wake up on Monday and be like, okay, well, I've got this private session and these classes to teach, and these are the marketing things I need to do, and these are, you know, other managerial responsibilities I have to get done. And again, it comes down to like the boundaries and the delegating, like, okay, I'm going to bring someone on to manage my social media, because it's incredibly time consuming to stay really engaged. And I was doing a great job at it, which is why I didn't feel like it was right to let it go, but someone else can do a great job at it also. Like you said, like thinking that I know the best way, and so I should do it, is not the right attitude to have. So now it's especially because of the expansion, and just still kind of finding like the niche for myself of how to organize my days. Probably the biggest thing that I've already done, and I'm still working towards doing, is Mondays and Fridays I don't teach. those are my office days that, maybe I'll have a lunch meeting, but even that sort of stuff, because so many teachers and friends, oh, let's have a meeting and talk about maybe bringing my retail into your studio and like whatever things people love to ask us for. But it's us giving our time ultimately. And so I try to even keep those off of Mondays and Fridays. And I teach on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My weekends, I'm working to not work on the weekends, but right now, those are my days to kind of go through numbers and make sure things are getting done, clean up, whatever's messy in my inbox. But I'm pretty good at maybe working just a couple hours on the weekend and then turning it off and being like, whatever, it can be taken care of on Monday, because I know when Monday comes, I don't have private sessions and lunch appointments that I need to go to. And same thing for Friday. I get everything prepared as much as I can so that I can go into the weekend with fewer responsibilities. So it's been probably the biggest thing. And it's, like I said, it's still, like you don't just become fluent in another language overnight.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, what you just described to me, those are big wins from having I know you still have to do this sometimes, but like when we were working together, you were working into the wee hours of the morning. Like there was no structure around your time in the business and your time out of it. And people who aren't studio owners don't necessarily understand the incredible drive and passion and actually energy that a lot of us have for doing this. Like when you feel like you're aligned with your purpose, time starts to change and your relationship to time changes, so but yeah, I mean, just hearing that you've even made those boundaries, like, okay, no classes on these 2 days. I know for me, on the days that I teach, even if I just teach one class, it actually like really eats into my brain space around, like I have to put on a whole other brain to hold that kind of space of healing for my people. And then it's like a different part of my brain I'm using to think about marketing or lead generation or, our protocols or, whatever's going on, and sometimes you're dealing with like emergency stuff, like there's a front desk, somebody needs a sub, so, but anyways, it's just different parts of your brain. So I think, what you're just described with that healthy compartmentalization, it's just like we do this here, we do this here, that's such a great first step. And I know that you'll get there where, you're only a couple months into your doubling of your size. So, but you'll get there where you won't have to work weekends, and maybe you can even shave off on Monday or Friday, have like a 3-day, time away. That would be
cool with that. I want to set that intention.
Yeah, totally.
And when I talk to people, I'm always telling them, I have 2 jobs. I'm a business owner and a yoga teacher. And it really is, because like you said, it is very much like changing your focus and your thinking. And it is very emotionally consuming to teach. And, you think, oh, it's just an hour class, but you have to get there early and you have to stay late and you have to energetically hold space and you have to have a great class put together. And if you've been working all morning on your business and then you rush to teach the class and then it's over and then you've got to like, wait, what was I working on this morning? I've learned it's just like I'm working to have even fewer classes that I'm teaching, because I'm seeing where, now that I have this amazing team, where I can put them in classes that I've been teaching for years that have a very dedicated student base. And, I can't just give it to anybody because I've been the teacher of that class for 4 years. And so I've got to be really selective. And that's definitely what I'm working toward.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so awesome. So tell us about, some of the insights and skills that you found and that you learned in the Thriving Studio Owner Program. Like specifically, I'm actually sort of curious about how you've learned to manage your time and focus. Like you just sort of, you highlighted this just a moment ago, but I think one of the challenges that we studio owners face is what the F to focus on, because honestly, there's so much that goes into running a small business, a Pilates and yoga studio. So can you tell us a little bit more about I know you've talked about your schedule, but specifically, what are you doing that's different now with your time and energy? How are you focusing your energy and the things you've also taken off your plate? Tell us more about that, because I know delegation has been a big jump for you, quantum leap for you.
It has. So I mentioned, just in the things that I've learned to, shift with you has been the social media, finding someone that is really great. And that's still a work in progress, because I'm learning how to manage a person with a task that she's not a social media expert before she came to me, but I could see it in her that with a little mentorship, she would be excellent. And she's managed to write these most incredible testimonials. I cry every time I read them. Students tell us that they look forward to them. And so we found her strengths and we found some of her weaknesses, and we're working on that. And she's really respectful and wants to learn. So she's eager to help, rather than when, a ball gets dropped in promoting an event that nobody shows up to or something we haven't had that, but that promoting things that maybe needed a little more attention, she's really keen to learn. And so I've learned, again, you don't just pass it off overnight. You've got to work and train and help them to understand when is important and what is important. And with the expansion, we now have a pretty sizable lobby, which we've added retail. So this is something that when I was working with you, I didn't even really have in my brain at all. And now it is this full, we had this huge event this past weekend and sold out of all of our size smalls and most of our size mediums, and people wanted more. And I was like, oh, I should have bought more. And I had no idea that many people would want to be spending all that money. So all weekend I'm taking notes, have someone else help me with check-in because I need to eat, and have lots of retail. And these are the things, I had some things that I thought people would buy and they didn't. And then other things that they bought. And I was like, oh, didn't expect you to all want that this weekend. But, so a lot of my, even still time and emotional, organization is still learning, because like I said, I've picked up either new people and or new revenue streams. But my personal schedule is a lot more just picking up the pieces, tying up the loose ends. I have someone that's communicating with new students and members, and I have someone that's handling social media. And so I guess the way to say this is I've kind of, in these boundaries, I've surrounded myself with people who are my filters. And so students come to them, or, people wanting to pitch a workshop at my studio, or someone wanting us to come to their space and do an offsite event for free or whatever, all these things that we get millions of questions about. And you just got to go into that auto email. Thank you for your inquiry. I've got people doing that for me now. So my time spent is really on the success of the business. And I'm not draining my energy of, sorry, we can't do that, or what were you looking for more specifically, or whatever. And these people that are kind of surrounding me, whether it's retail or social media, new student inquiries, they've been trained on these questions and how to answer them. And this is the best part, when they forward me a question they don't know an answer to, I don't have to sit there and compose the most eloquent email. I'm just no, find a way to say that we don't rent out our space, or find a way to say that, you know, this is not something that's in line with our business practices. Like, I don't have to, it's so fast. I'm just going to be like, hard pass, thanks, bye. Like, and then they take over and say really wonderful things for me.
Oh, it's such a relief.
Yeah. So exhausting.
Yeah,
and I have no idea.
I know. I mean, that's why we have customer service people to deal with our customer service, you know, because it actually takes a lot of energy to do that in a way that's like respectful and kind, and, you know, because you have to learn how to say no, but learn how to say no in the most elegant, respectful way possible, you know?
And I'm good at it. I should say, like, I'm always, thank you so much for emailing us. You know, really glad you found us, whatever the, you know, however it segues into answering their question. And at the end, it's always like, we hope to meet you soon, or can't wait to welcome you back. But like, it's the context of the whole email that it's incredibly time and emotionally consuming.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So you have been mentioning a couple times these new revenue streams, and I would love for you to talk about this, because I think a lot of studio owners feel like, if I'm going to invest, you know, you've invested in you invested in my program, but you also invested in doubling your space and like really going big in your studio. And so I think a lot of people have a thought that investing means you will see returns maybe, and you will see returns like in a long time from now. But can you please tell us, like, I know you started out grossing, say, $8,000 a month on average. Would you say that's true? Like before we started working together? Maybe 7 or 8 on an average month.
Yeah, I think our biggest month before I worked with you was like January, when everybody's buying all the things. And I think that was like $9,900.
So about 10 grand, which is great. So and tell us where you are now. Here we are, like 10 months.
Yeah, so in August, this was kind of like one of the last things that you and I had worked on, was looking at my pricing and all of the numbers and everything. And it had been a while since we had done any price changes. And I knew that with the expansion, it was an appropriate time. And that was also an anniversary month. Like, ironically, the same month that we expanded was our 4-year anniversary. So it kind of made sense to change prices. And you pushed me to raise my class prices $3. I went for 2. I negotiated to 2 because 3 scares me, as you can see, just like now. So when I was preparing all of this, I did price changes, membership drop-in packages, everything changed. And our memberships are grandfathered in. So we, instead of just like really sneakily changing the prices overnight and not telling anyone, we did this big push and said, you know, you advised me to do this, like put up signs, have people announce it, the prices are changing, because then we'd sell some packages and get some cash flow in, like at the head of the expansion. Memberships, if people wanted to upgrade or downgrade or just get onto a membership, they were saving roughly $8 to $10 a month indefinitely until they cancel. So they'd be grandfathered in at that price. So we really used that as a promotional point. And then we did annual membership, which it exists, but nobody really buys it unless it's on sale. And we did a thing that you and I kind of worked on, was kind of like not a founding member, but a supporting member, which was a 3-year, I don't know where that light came from, a 3-year, $3,000 unlimited membership. And it had all sorts of really great benefits to it, including, you know, member guest passes and all of that. And I think we made 3 available, and I sold 1, which was exciting. So, because that's a huge investment, and I wasn't sure how it would go. I was like, let's just, like, even if I just get 1, that's $3,000 all of a sudden that you've got in the bank. So that month we did $16,000, and that was like, I think even double what we had done the month before, which, since working with you in those final months of working with you, I think my numbers were pretty consistently at like $8,000 or $9,000, which for summertime is incredible. August is usually the slowest month, and that was the month that we did $16,000. And it was just like, and it gave me all sorts of tips on selling points and ways to do things. I mean, I can't make $16,000 every month like that because we had all those things of people like getting stuff, but we've been doing pretty good since then. We've been writing that, you know, $10,000, $12,000 a month generation. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I mean, that's just like that kind of growth is so, I mean, that's like, you know, if you were making 8,000 before and now you're doing around 12, I mean, that is some serious growth. That is so amazing. It's so, I know that the energy that you and your team are putting into your space. Oh yeah, that mystery light.
I don't know how that turned on. Okay.
But I know that the energy that you and your team are really building together is like, I can feel it even from over here in California, that like it's starting to become like a hot neon sign to your customers, to your new people, you know? And so have you had new people coming in through the door in the last several months?
Tons. Yeah. I think even, so we're in a strip. We have a massive parking lot. We're on the busiest street in Indianapolis. The brand new IKEA just went in down the road, like a couple miles up the street. And so there's even increased traffic from downtown dwellers to the suburb for that. And just even in our neighborhood, there's more activity around. But I think even the people who, you know, frequent the gym, we're right next door to the #1 fitness gym in the city. And I wasn't sure how that would go over, but even people who go there, or there's a couple restaurants in the strip, people seeing us are having a lobby space that really identifies like what's going on, and people can come in and ask questions, makes it a lot easier for people to come in, but also just the buzz within the yoga community. Indianapolis is, you know, we are slow to catch on to trends, but people like, we're like semi-progressive. We've got a young professional community of people that are into, you know, fitness lifestyles, active living, but there's been this really great buzz just around the community of our expansion. And one of the things that I am doing retail specifically for is I noticed that there was nowhere in the city that sells high-end activewear in plus sizes. You know, like most places you would be lucky to find a pair of extra large pants. And again, we're in Indianapolis. This is a huge market for all sizes, because sure, people who are already active know where to go, but then if you're trying to, you know, become more active, and you don't even have to be interested in yoga, but if you just want to go to the gym or whatever your activity might be, running, where do you go if you don't want to go to Old Navy to get some yoga pants? People don't like to shop online always for apparel because they want to be able to try it on, and the returns are such a pain in the butt. So we are the only place in the city that carries up to 3XL in really good brands, and I worked really hard to find the right companies, not just like, okay, cool, but like good quality product and great companies that we like yogically support as well. So we've got all this buzz, all these people coming in and finding us, and having more people helping me with especially the new student support has been really helpful, because they have lots of questions and everybody's getting trained really well on not just answering the questions, but really listening and supporting what they're looking for.
Yeah, and you know, I know that particular offering of this new revenue stream of retail was actually something that you and I worked on a lot and just talked about a lot during our time together. And I think what for me was so interesting about it was that it was actually a reflection of your commitment to inclusion and like really wanting to make your space like as safe as possible for people to come to and not feel judged and feel really welcomed, and not feel like they have to be already fit and skinny and flexible. And so I think, you know, it's not just a new revenue stream. I feel like that particular offering for you just feels like it's the right message. It's the right message to speak to your audience about who you guys are and what you guys really care about and the kind of care that you offer. So yeah, I think that's so great. And I love that it's, you know, maybe an invitation to people who wouldn't otherwise necessarily feel comfortable coming into an independent yoga studio, boutique yoga studio, you know, so that's so great. That's so awesome.
I should probably also mention, because you kind of asked this, or it was kind of a point earlier, but this was my first loan I've taken out. When I opened, we started even a shared space, and I didn't really have rent that I had to worry about for that first year, just a few $100s a month. But so I mean, that's kind of why I said earlier, just like being in debt scares me, and I was really afraid. And I know that retail is a great source of revenue, but as you said, like, am I going to make all that money back right away? No, it's going to sit in the studio for, you know, a couple weeks or a couple months or longer. And I've got to kind of be patient, but it's, you know, you'll double your revenue out of it. So it's a good investment. And that was, for revenue streams, that's been, and especially coming up to the holidays, I'm looking forward to seeing and learning how that's going to continue to support us. Because that was one of the things that you really helped me see, was taking that, like, okay, give them $4,000 so they can send you a bunch of yoga clothes. Like, that's a lot of money for me, who's been, you know, living really simply through all of this. But those frightening big leaps are really important. And that's been one of the biggest takeaways that I've had just in all of this, is seeing that it's worth it. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, it's like that strategic, yeah, it's like that strategic risk, you know, and it's like, that's the thing that I think a lot of us, people who are not trained in business, don't really feel comfortable with, as you said, or know how to do. But like, how do you make a choice of, you know, if you're going to invest, I mean, you're investing so much of your life force into your studio, you know, and to me, it's like, if I'm going to invest this much of my care, my life force, my energy, it needs to pay me back both energetically, which it does, but also financially. Like, it has to be those two things, or else I can't continue to do this. I will have to close my doors as a studio, you know? And so, yeah, so I think what you're saying will ring true for so many of our people watching this interview, that like, it's scary to take risk. And if you want to have the business and the life of your dreams, you need to learn how to tolerate it, you know, and how to do it wisely.
Yeah. I think it was right before our final chat. I did the Jyotish, the Ayurvedic astrology reading. And do you remember this? She told me, I attract material wealth. And I'm sure I even physically flinched at that, because yeah, to me, like, this is a service, it's donation, pay what you can, everybody's welcome. And I'm not trying to become filthy rich out of all of this. Like, this is just my dharma and I'm living it. And having that session with her at the end of our program was like the light bulb that you'd been saying all along that I just like wasn't ready to hear yet. But it's okay to attract material wealth. And so when you and I were chatting after that, you were like, if you're not financially successful yourself, your studio is not going to be financially successful. Like, I have been almost holding all of it, myself and my studio, in this tiny little ball because I didn't want it to be something that's so big and profitable and blah, blah, blah. Like, I just wanted to share some yoga with some people. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, no. Like, I have to go big. I have to be really, really passionate about this. And I have to make a lot of money, because making a lot of money means I'm reaching more people. And that was like the biggest light bulb, I think, that, I mean, the boundaries, I'll always probably like immediately answer that, because that in so many ways changed my life. But then just in the financial aspect, and I think a lot of people struggle to have a good relationship with money or finances, or budgeting, whatever the, avenue might be for each person. But for me, it was realizing like, you have to open yourself up to like the most incredible greatness that you possibly can, because otherwise the studio is not going to be something really, really special. It's just going to be special. It's not going to be like, holy crap, this is awesome. And people see it. They walk in and they're like, wow, this is beautiful. And I'm like, it's just some paint on the walls. And they're like, no. One of our teachers or students, somebody the other day said, they walked in and they were like, this is like sensory therapy in here. You walk in and it feels like it's nurturing energetically, but even like, we have this rug, and she was like, I love walking on the rug barefoot, and it always smells amazing in here, and the music is always so beautiful. And I was like, I did it. That's what I was wanting to do, and I had no idea. And she just put it on, like, all defined it for me.
Oh my God, that is so amazing. I love it. That's so beautiful. Wow. Awesome. Well, I have a feeling we're going to do another one of these interviews someday. I know that you're going to continue to grow and your business is going to grow. And I just see the most magical things for you in your life.
Oh, thank you.
I do want to say one last piece before we sign off, just that I know for you, being able to actually, even in the midst of this big expansion, being able to travel and do your thing that you like to do on your days off has been really important to you. So we cannot leave this interview without you speaking a little bit about your passion about music and travel, and how you totally, even though you have this incredible period of growth in your business, you're managing to get away. So could you tell us, like, on a given month or so, like, what are you doing with your time? It's so you.
Go anywhere without telling this story anymore, I don't think.
Let's have it.
So I'm a huge Dave Matthews Band fan. I have, for 20 years, unapologetically gone to as many concerts as I can go to. This summer, we even had one of our weekly calls, like FaceTime, while I was sitting in a car, like people were tailgating, because it's my thing, it's my happy place. And what do you say? It's what makes me sparkle. It's my brilliance. And at the beginning of the summer, I had bought all the concert tickets of the shows I wanted to go to. And being in Indianapolis, it's really easy because so many venues are within like a 4-hour drive or whatever. So you actually helped me like be okay with that, because I'd always be like, oops, I'm sneaking out of town. But like, yeah, dummy, if you're going to work 7 days a week, all the rest of the weeks, it's okay to leave for 48 hours and go like re-energize your soul and just fill up. And like, for me, it's Dave Matthews Band. For other people, it might be going to the beach or going to a cabin in the woods or whatever, just like locking themselves inside and turning off their cell phone. But yeah, I think that you've just helped me manifest like the crap out of all the amazing things in my life. So in all of this summer, you know, and I do, to a degree, I do think that helped to, for me to energetically be okay with like going to more shows than I even planned on. So in August, one of my friends had extra tickets to a show in Colorado, and I just used mile or points that I had to fly out there. And that was like a really amazing opportunity that just kind of opened the door for me to be like, you can leave for 36 hours. Like, no one is even going to notice you're out of town. I didn't even have any of my classes covered. It was totally fine. It went really well. And then, you know, like around the same time that I was out at that show, another friend messaged me and was like, I've got an extra ticket to the Hollywood Bowl in LA in September. You want to go? And I was like, okay. And same thing, like it was really easy. It was just one show, fly in, go to the show, fly back home. And she wanted to go see some friends and after the concert, and they were probably not coincidentally, but they were staying in the same hotel as the band. And so we get to their hotel bar and like half the band was there. And long story short, I had some really cool opportunities to meet several of the band members. And for me, all I could say was thank you, because there had been so much. The band had really flourished this year too, and everybody saw that. But for me to be in this place in my life and just be like incredibly aware of abundance and gratitude and being okay with taking the time for myself and going and doing these things. So I got to say that to several of the band members and had some long chats with a few of them and meet Dave a couple times, and he saw that in me too, the luminosity, I don't know. Oh yeah, God. So I just like, you know, you can't feel badly when you ditch the studio for 48 hours to do what fills your soul. You have to do that, because I mean, that week I came home from LA and I was like, I love everything in my life. I love this studio and I love teaching. And like I was so, and my students of course know about my passion for the band as well. So they were like energized with me feeling all of this. And it was in the midst, we expanded at the beginning of September. So those two trips especially were probably, from someone who doesn't understand, a really stupid decision for me to get out and go do that. But I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, aside from when I was at the concerts, I was working, even on the airplane and in the hotel room, and I was working because of the expansion. But then I went and I just like whoosh, refilled.
Awesome. I'm so glad. Okay, cool. So I want to thank you so much. I love your stories. I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I want to let both of us get back to our work day because we have things to do for our studio. But I would love for you to just tell the viewers, if they are in Indianapolis or if they have any friends and family in the Midwest, can you please tell us your website and where they can find you?
Yeah, so my studio, again, is called Breathing Space Yoga and Meditation. It's www.breathingspace.yoga, and we're on the northeast side of town, just outside of Broad Ripple. And yeah, it's one of the cool things about being donation-based is that nobody knows how much anybody's paying. So it's a very welcoming community, and I didn't know that was going to set the tone, but it has. So awesome. Everybody's welcome. Feels like home to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. I can't wait to come to your studio someday.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.